as chair, correct?
I nominate Mort for that position. Any discussion? Mort, you okay?
I'm fine with that, sure.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Up to you now.
Okay.
I nominate Craig as vice chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Alright, so, Mr. Bain, you are first on the.
Actually,
Oh, we're getting the approval of the minutes. Any discussion with the minutes?
No, I read them, they look fine to me.
Yeah, I read them, I wasn't on the committee at that point, but. So, motion to approve the minutes,
So moved.
second?
Second.
Alright, minutes approved. Okay.
Just so we were technically clear. Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
I,
Okay.
perfect. Sorry, new to the job.
That's all right.
So any changes to the agenda? Anyone
I don't have
anything?
any.
Okay,
No.
all right, then with that, we'll go on to, Mr. Bain, you are first on the list.
Alright, in regards to Orchard Street, that road, basically when you come up and you go straight, instead of heading left towards like say DeSantis's and Moose Run and all that stuff and you loop around, that area's been nothing but like, this time of year, like pretty much swampy, you know, for the highway crew.
Yeah.
If you go right or left and not stay in the middle, you're gonna get stuck. Really bad, just like the two guys just did recently in this last storm. And is that on your list to get fixed this year?
I don't have the road plan in front of me, I'm not sure who's.
That's the one that we brought forth
Right,
in
right,
January
and that
and it got
taken
voted
off,
down.
That's right. We
So,
were, it was
but
originally on.
we did, our team had planned back when Ron and Matt were here to do that road. But it got voted down at the Board of Selectmen meeting, and because the amount was noted in the meeting, we were told that we can't, legally, that we can't move forward now with that road because we have to wait another cycle. Because that was put out, so it could be unfairly bid upon now.
Because what got me concerned about it, because Selectman Kelly made a comment that there's only one house that particular
There's
section.
a lot of houses up there, right?
Well, that particular spot
Yeah.
where the problem is, where it's problematic,
Yeah.
there is only one house that will services that particular spot. In other words, the Fallons, when they come out of their house, if they go left, they're gonna hit that spot. If they go right and come around by the DeSantis's,
Yeah.
going Moose Runway,
Yeah.
they will not hit that spot.
Yeah.
But in all fairness to them, when they're paying north of $26,000 a year in taxes, that's irrelevant if it's one house or 0 houses. It should be fixed, especially if they're paying $26,000 a year in taxes. That's not right.
I don't know how much a year they pay in
I
taxes, I'd
don't
have to look,
know.
but,
Ouch.
but I'm sure it's something that we can look at and see if at least we can put some sort of gravel or something down, do some sort of remediation until we can hopefully put it out to bid again. I'd like to put it out to bid again next year.
Well, the problem is, I mean, you could put whatever you want there right now, and if we have a wet summer,
Oh yeah,
it's gonna stay that way all summer. I mean, even if a fire apparatus went up there in July, and they go too far to the right, too far to the left,
they'll sink down.
it's not a matter that if they can get stuck, they will get stuck. And that could be the matter of difference between life and death. So at this point, to me, it very well could be a life safety issue. I mean, I know for a fact our EMS department has been up to the Fallon's residence last summer to help Bill. I was there and had to hold his hand while his lips were turning blue for a medical issue he had. And God forbid if the ambulance got stuck and Mr. Fallon passed away for the negligence of that road not getting fixed. I don't think the town would want to be in that situation because the outcome would not be good for us taxpayers. I think we all could agree upon that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody would want that, obviously.
Absolutely not.
A liability or any of it.
I mean, big time. And I guess my second part of this,
Give life.
Yeah, no doubt, or any of it, yeah.
Right.
and my second part of being here is in regard, where are we standing on the status and the procedure of where we are in fixing Eastern Corners Road with that current wetlands violation that we're at?
It's a lower tier violation, not a wetlands violation. Wetland violation
But
has
it's-
fines associated, please let me finish.
No worries.
And as stated in the letter that you received as a right to know request, we have to clean up the spoils and finish the ditching on that by May 30th. So we cannot do anything really until the snow and all that goes, and then we will be fixing that this spring.
But as you just said, you still said it's a violation, lower tier
It's a
violation.
lower tier violation, there are no fines associated with it. It is not a wetlands violation either. There is a difference per the DES.
Because I personally contacted Peter Conte via email. I got it on my phone, I can show you folks if you'd like. That shows there still is an active violation.
Until May 30th, we have to show them a
Correct.
report when we're done.
And
We
you
have to send
just,
them pictures, I shouldn't say
and
report,
you
we have to
just-
send them pictures.
and you said there still is an active violation.
She said there's a lower tier violation.
And if you read the
So
first,
please make sure you include lower tier.
I
Is
will.
that a
Comment,
wetland?
because
Because it's a-
we wanna
there's a
make sure we're
difference.
speaking the truth, right?
Correct. And on the January 21st letter and the February 10th letter, both of them explicitly said lower tier violations. And the only difference in those letters is that DES was thankful enough to give you guys an extension by 2 weeks to the end of May to fix the project. And as far as fines, DES don't give you fines, Kate, unless,
That's
hold
not
on,
true.
please, let me speak, like I let you speak. DES will not give you does not give you any fines unless you do not meet the deadlines they meet. And that came right from the horse's mouth, Peter Conte. And another friend of mine called up there, and Peter Conte said there still is an active lower tier of violation. And what I'm trying to get at is at a selectmen's meeting, I asked Ms. Davis if there was still a active violation.
You said
You said
wetlands.
wetlands violation.
And that's
Violation.
You
said
said
wetlands
wetlands
violation.
violation.
It's
That
still a
is-
violation.
It's not a
Yes,
wetlands
it's a
violation.
Wetlands violation.
You guys are still in violation of a DES violation.
That's why I said to you.
Bottom
make
line.
sure- make
So,
sure
so,
you-
Bottom line.
okay,
I
understood.
also,
Understood.
the
What's
wetlands
your point?
violation is very different than lower tier violation. Lower tier violation is, we literally have what they call spoils, that is like old like logs and dredge is what they called it, in two sections. Which they say have been there, from what I gather, is they said it was there before I started here over a year ago, from prior storms that need to be cleaned up. And the other one is the finishing of a ditch, which we had already called them and told them we couldn't finish, and I have my, communication with DES on that we couldn't finish it, and could they come out and look at this, because we got a snowstorm literally a day and a half after we started working on it. So they already understood that, yes, we need to finish that ditching, and so that's why they've given us that May 30th. But the original letter that they sent out asked us to do all this other stuff, which they then rescinded and stated that we now only need to show pictures that we have cleared up those two areas. So my feeling, Mr. Bain, is that you are trying to make a case that we are doing all these atrocious or nefarious deeds within the town regarding this violation, when in fact the violations are small in comparison to a wetlands violation, which would be hurting animals, putting water or other stuff into the streams or wetlands areas. And that is not the case. It's cleanup, and it needs to be done, and we will finish it, and we have till May 30th. So we've planned it, we were waiting until, hopefully, I'm hoping that we don't get as much snow as they're talking about in the next day or so. But once that's gone, we can work on it, and I promise you it'll be worked on and taken care of by the time it says it's supposed to be.
Well, I've gone to a lot of schooling in regards to DES. I've gone to some DES classes, unlike yourself. Unlike yourself has not, I should say. And if there was no violation going on there, wetlands violation or whatever you folks want to call it, DES wouldn't be involved. So I guess at this
I'm
point,
the one that called DES to come in the first
Yeah,
place, and
okay.
Peter Conte actually states
Mhm.
that as well. So I'd
Okay.
love for Peter or maybe one of his supervisors to come and actually have
That'd
a
be great.
conversation.
Mm,
Cause I think that they could explain it better to you,
mm.
what we've been doing. I feel like, there's a mountain being made out of a molehill at the moment, and I'm not quite sure why, cause it is being looked at, and I'm not saying that it is being worked on, it is being planned. We have all the materials we need,
Waiting on the weather.
I'm just waiting on the weather, and I was kinda hoping that we'd be in 50 degrees and sunny by now. A little, I know, wishful thinking growing up in New Hampshire, but,
Sure.
I remember it used to be like that sometimes, but this time of year, the weather has changed, so, I please ask that people give us the time to do what we need to do to get it done. So,
I mean, while I'm here and I brought up the subject of roads, can I bring up any other issues regarding roads /
well,
road agent or not?
Yeah,
Mrs. Benoit actually came in to talk about a road herself, so I
Yeah, I
would.
think we
That's
got
fine,
privilege of the floor
I can
after
go
that,
on to
then.
privilege
We
after.
have privilege of the floor
That's
after that,
fine,
but
perfect.
you specifically stated Orchard Street, Eastern
That's
Corner. and
perfectly
that's-
fine.
Okay, yeah.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Tricia Benoit.
Hi, Tricia.
Before I start, I just wanna say, I'm only here to get information, I'm not here to start any battles or anything. I've only lived here for 4 years, and I'm just curious, and I understand that the roads manager, was just hired last week or the week before.
Well, yeah, just started last week.
Just started last week. I live on Winterbrook at the corner of Winterbrook and Pinnacle. Okay, I'm the White House.
Okay, yeah.
With a big old window, so I see everything. We hear everything. And I'm just curious, not this past storm that happened this weekend, but the storm before, happened on a Monday, I believe.
Okay.
I work at the top of Pinnacle at somebody's house. I help take care of an elderly person up there. When I came home, I left at, let me see. I just want to make sure I have my data correct here. Okay, I left at 10:03, so that's 2:50. And the road was not touched, no sand, no plowing, no nothing. The gentleman that I work for said it was very difficult for him to come up the street, slipping and sliding and everything. When I drove down, I immediately was hit with, coming down Pinnacle, and I was immediately hit with a clear Winterbrook. Okay? I came in and I spoke with Miss Kate, right?
Ms. O'Connor, or Katie.
Oh,
Yeah, my name is
Ms.
Kate.
O'Connor,
But-
okay. And wanted to find out why those roads why there's such a difference. And she explained that there's two, and again, I've only been here for 4 years, and these last few storms I've had to deal with the state where I've seen things on the highways like, that's not their district, or that's not their area. I'm like, so, and she said that there are two trucks that go up, and one goes up all the way up to,
They do some of the roads on Waterville Estates. Well, we
Waterville
don't do
Estates,
a lot of the
okay.
roads on
Now,
Waterville Estates.
Waterville Estates also has their own plowing crew,
Yep,
okay?
Yep.
And then you said also that there's another route that takes them all the way up and around, from what I understand.
there's a route that's supposed to go up and do your sides and do your Winterbrook piece of it.
Right,
And then I did talk to Waterville Estates after speaking with you, because we were talking about something completely different. And he brought up the storms. Ron Beard, who is with the Waterville Estates general manager, and he said that they have, like, you will see them riding on Winterbrook too, which I told them that hopefully they're not plowing on our roads, because they're not supposed to be doing that. But he did note that, because you made a comment, like, you've seen multiple plow trucks, he said you will see them, because they go up and down
Oh,
that road too.
but his
So-
road doesn't have his truck doesn't have it to see.
No, they do, he told me they just started putting decals on there, they now have their own on their side, that's what he told me, he said they just got them a couple weeks ago.
Okay, but not town of Campton.
And they shouldn't say town of Camden, no.
Okay. So we've seen all kinds of trucks, and we've also seen the town of Campton. In storms past, and my question to Kate was, why can't, once they go down Winterbrook, why can't they just turn around and just come up and do Pinnacle? Which I've seen done in the past. I apologize for no documentation, I just started documenting after this past Monday. And I'm just here, and she said that, you know, you have routes, and you have this and that, and I understand that, you know, plowing doesn't start until you get 2 inches, which I understand. But my question is, why can't they just, once they come down, just turn around and go up Pinnacle, which they did on Sunday morning to sand. It was nearly impassable. On Saturday, I saw 2, one was a I apologize, one. FedEx truck couldn't even get up the road to deliver. And Winterbrook had already been plowed twice. So my question is, why does Pinnacle not get the same treatment as, and I already know my reasons why, I know my reasons why, the same as Winterbrook.
So.
Pinnacle's not the estates, right? That's us.
No, it is one of ours.
Okay.
The road agent's right here, can we bring him in and ask him?
Road agent isn't right here.
Isn't that his truck, town truck?
No, it is not.
Oh, I apologize.
They've been at training all day. So the road agent literally just started last week, Butch. I mean,
Alright.
his first day was learning the routes was when we had a storm. So I mean, the new road agent isn't to blame or
No,
anything.
I'm not making any blame,
Sure.
I'm just here for an education. Why?
So one of the things that we are working on with the new road agent is like looking at all the routes, other routes, you know, are the ones that we have in place and have had in place, are they in a great, proper way? Are they going through it the right way? Because for about 6 weeks, we had, for a good 3 weeks when we had 2 men, plus we had a subcontractors, and then we had for 6 weeks, we had only 3 guys and a couple contractors. And I think part of the issue is we just didn't have enough crew to do everything in the right order or and to get it all done in a good amount of time.
What about in December and November?
That I can't, we had a road agent then, I can't speak for him at this time. I mean, the road agent and his foreman are now not here, so I can't speak as to his administrative oversight on that.
Okay, but you said that the selectmen are the ones that did the routes.
They're the ones that, they have the roads committee and they're the
Right,
ones that have
so-
oversight of the road agent, but in terms of who creates the routes and who gets sent out to do those are done by the road agent, and then if people have a complaint, they're supposed to go to the road agent. You don't have a road agent right now to complain about this, so that's why I had to come to the roads committee to talk to the board about what's been happening.
And
This is my first winter here too, I started last March,
Okay.
so this is my first winter here as well.
so my name is Craig Engel, I'm one of the selectmen here in the town. Yeah, and I'm on this committee. I know that, I think maybe what might have happened is new people, new routes, maybe they missed, accidentally. Cause December and November, that was a different crew.
Right.
And now we've got new people. So the best thing to do is if you feel like they've missed your road, or if you, would be to call here.
Oh, the road
But
agent.
understand that the way routes are set up is usually we come around every 4 hours. Because
But
people-
what we're gathering would be the time it would take to do all of the routes, there's usually
Right.
10 to 15
Well,
roads
okay,
on
so-
one route.
so
Repeat what you just said for me, please. The time to take a route is every 4 hours?
It's usually the time it takes.
It's
if
a
you-
cycle.
Okay,
the cycle.
okay, so then, and this is where I'm having a difficult time with. Why am I always seeing, and they're town of Campton trucks,
Already did. Oh, excuse me.
up 3 and 4 times on Winterbrook, not once going up Pinnacle, within 4 hours?
I don't have a good answer for that.
And I don't either, so
Okay.
I'd have to talk.
And this is
to-
not just this year, this has been since I've lived here.
So that you're talking about like in years past as
It's
well.
from
Okay.
last year, 22, 21.
And again, that's a different crew. Now we have a new crew and we can definitely rectify the situation if that's
Yeah.
something that's been continuously happening.
You know, like Kate has said, that with a new road agent and a new crew, we'll be going through all the routes and how these routes are gonna be addressed and how they're gonna be taken and formulate a plan for next year. Obviously, it's with very young crew and very small crew to the tail end of the year.
We have tried our
Everyone
best.
is trying their best and we're trying to get through it as best that we can.
One of the
And we
other,
appreciate that you bring this information forward to us, that will help us formulate a better plan coming up
And
with
also note
with the
that
next winter.
in the previous years, okay, because I know different crews, I don't know how much of a turnover you guys get or whatever, it's not my problem, but Pinnacle's never been plowed until I make a phone call, literally,
Okay.
so,
in the
And-
past 4 years. So if you can make like an asterisk or highlight or do something to see how, and it's very easy, like I said, I've seen it in the past where they drive down, this was last winter, they drove down, turned around that little corner onto, is it 175? And come right back up and went up Pinnacle. It's easy, it's a piece of cake,
Sure.
it doesn't take more than 5 minutes.
Okay.
People who don't, not everybody has, even though they should, I'm one of them, not everybody has four-wheel drive. And not everybody has the big heavy-duty trucks. My boss drives a company minivan. So you're making it it's almost like, and I'm just gonna say it. Winterbrook Estates, not Winterbrook Estates. What is it?
One of those
Wadsville
days.
Estates is in a different tax bracket. They come first before the poor slobs on Pinnacle. That's been my
Sure,
impression
yeah.
since day one.
Sure.
Is Pinnacle paved or gravel?
It's paved.
Yeah, okay.
They have no lights, they have nothing up there, so,
I've been for 20 years, I get it.
okay.
I just didn't know if Pinnacle was paved or
Yeah.
not.
No, it's not paved.
So-
It's paved.
Then I guess we're just gonna have to wait until next winter to see if there's any changes.
I think,
Well, we have
Yeah,
tonight,
oh, no,
So hope-
shush.
Yeah.
hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully we can communicate with our road
Unfortunately.
agent,
Yeah,
which we will today,
Okay,
that,
There's
you
a
know, that
concern
we,
that,
we need to make sure we're following the routes and that it
Well-
gets done in the appropriate amount of time.
and the other thing I wanna bring up, and I don't know if this is true or not, so don't quote me that this is what's been happening either, is that due to the fact that I know that they used to have, like last year, I came on in March 18th of last year. And I was told they had 3 or 4 subcontractors plus the crew that was doing it. And I don't know how the road agent at that time was giving the routes out and who did what, and if it was contractors or if it was
Right.
in-house people and things like that. And I think what happens sometimes is that when things get moved around and when we lose a contractor or we lose a employee or something, what happens is somebody else has to pick up the slack of now they're doing this route and doing that route. And I think sometimes things get missed because they're not used to doing that route. Not saying that that is an excuse or anything else, I'm saying I'm as a understanding of maybe why this has happened over the last couple of years. But we can definitely move forward by fixing that and making sure that it gets put on there, and like you're saying, like what is the smart way to do these routes so that, you know, you're not
So,
going left and then going right and then doing this and
Right.
like,
just so everybody gets the same clearance.
Yep.
You
That's our
know,
intention.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and
What it should
maybe
be.
that might be something that can be put into, I don't know, put into consideration
Mhm.
about losing subcontractors and not having enough money. Oh, well, we've already done about our whole budget for, and because we had so many storms, now we have to let go a couple of subcontractors and we don't have as many drivers, so like backup plans for.
Well, it's not as much as
Okay.
a budgetary thing, is that it's very difficult to get contractors, subcontractors.
yeah.
Okay.
That's our
Actually has
issue.
been.
Okay.
It's not that we're cutting the budget and cutting down from 4 subcontractors to 2 subcontractors. We have very difficult time.
Our insurance company
Getting
requires us
stuff
for
on.
people to have a certain amount of insurance to do it, and we've had quite a few people who were plowers that are saying, no, I don't wanna hold that as much insurance, so we've had people that have
Okay.
backed out, so,
Because the level of insurance that's required is very expensive.
yeah, or it can be
I'm
expensive,
sure,
so.
I'm sure.
So, it's been a matter of trying to find new contractors who would be willing to help with that sort of thing.
But like backup plans would be a nice idea.
Yep, you're right, thank you.
The question I had, it might speed things up, is, we used to have 2 6-wheelers, we had a Kenworth and a Freightliner. Now we're just down to a Kenworth.
Yeah, the 6 wheel.
Yeah, with a 10-foot front plow,
Yeah, yeah,
10-foot wing, excuse me, vice versa,
Yeah,
which holds about 10 yards of sand. The smaller trucks hold anywhere from 2 to 4 yards of sand.
Yep.
And the Kenworth used to do about 50% of the route up there and the estates. I know I drove it sometimes.
And I was told the Kenworth was having trouble on some of the water, I'm just
It,
letting you know.
it will,
but
it's
on
not
water
the,
boat
it's not the
estates
best
road.
truck to put on those
Too
hills.
States
big.
road, that's why we started doing the
Because
smaller
it's only
truck.
two-wheel drive.
Yeah.
But even when I drove the F-550 up there, if you take Merrill, let's take Merrill's, Merrill Road out of it, which is Page Hill Development, you know where
Yeah,
it is, Mark.
yeah.
And you take, say, so now you're taking Winterbrook Road and everything else up in the estates, including where this young lady lives in Pinnacle.
Yeah.
That section of road right there will take about 45 minutes to do with a 550. I know, because I've probably done it upwards, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred times. No more than 45 minutes. And if somebody's taking more than 45 minutes, then they need to find another profession.
Thank you.
You have
So
anything else,
are-
Ms. Bernard?
Anything else that you would like to add?
I guess
to
not,
that?
because everything's up in the air. I'll just keep my eye, and
Okay, sure, yeah, keep us informed, 100.
And the other thing that you might wanna share with your road person and have him school his plowers on when they plow, there's this big huge size, not the size of this room, of slush, snow, impassable for people to turn. And again, that would
Now, where
alleviate,
were you speaking of?
right there at the
Intersection.
fork.
Winterbrook and
Right,
Pinnacle.
right at that fork. So because they all go down, down, down all the time, and then they go up, if you just turn, it will it'll scrape all of that triangle snow off.
You're talking about winging it, so it's.
Oh, it's probably right in front of the Triano's house,
Yeah,
right?
she means turning in
Right,
by
she's
Martin
talking
Triano's
about-
house.
She's saying wing
Yeah.
it and
You
bring it to the
turn in,
side,
and
yeah.
then you would back up,
Yeah, and
and
then
then
push it
proceed
down.
up Pinnacle,
Yeah.
and then it leaves
Right
nothing
here.
there.
This is in front of my
Right in front of
house.
Triano's,
This
huh?
is
Yeah.
Winterbrook, this is,
And this is
This
what
is
you're talking
the-
about, is the,
let's see,
is
all
that,
of this mess.
gotcha. Gotcha.
Sometimes it's not, and then
You
I,
wanna show them?
oh, yes.
Just like yours.
So this is in front of, this is my house, this is Winterbrook, this is
yeah.
Pinnacle.
Yeah.
So it's all this mess.
Yeah,
out
it's
here.
fine.
Right, all
That's
of
what you
this stuff.
do.
And it freezes,
And then it makes it bumpy and
Yeah.
icy.
Sure, yeah. I
So-
see what you're saying.
and then I also later, because he turned up, he was gonna cause an accident. This truck was waiting, he backed up. This was a disaster. I just had to laugh, and I took a video of it, and then he came up, and then he came back down. I don't know if you saw that truck or not, but then he plowed everything up here into this corner, which is not a big deal, that's the street.
Mhm.
But instead of going,
Ironic, huh? Lord. It's
and
ironic.
push that stuff all over.
Right, sure, yeah.
Mhm.
But don't you think it would be a lot easier for him just to go around the corner, whoops, go around the corner with his blade down instead of pushing it all up?
I personally, as a plow truck driver, I make a great electrician. Meaning I don't know the trade of plowing.
Okay,
And so I entrust the people that know how to do the job
okay,
to hopefully do their job properly.
And if he's coming downhill on the left side and somebody tries to bang a right, he doesn't see them. Now
no,
you
he's
have-
coming down on the right side
No, but he was pushing on the other side, towards you, right?
towards,
Right.
yes, but that's, he was coming off of, up on Winterbrook.
Right, right. But you said, why couldn't he just go up top and push it down as he came down, right?
As he came down Winterbrook,
So he'd be on the left side of the
he'd
road.
be on the right side of the road. As he came down Winterbrook, I drive on the right side of the
Okay,
road.
I'm not understanding. I think I get it.
He's driving on the driver's side of the road,
Right,
And-
just wrap around the corner.
just
and go
wrap
up.
around the
Turn
corner.
right.
Say wrap
into
around,
Pinnacle.
yeah, instead of going, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, thanks.
So,
I get it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
okay, so. And I guess that's all I
All right.
Okay, well, thank
Cool.
you
Okay.
for that.
Thank you.
All right.
We appreciate you coming in.
I'll have a
and
conversation
sharing
with the
that
road
with
agent,
us.
explain to him what our conversation was, like I said, he's new,
Mhm.
he's been here a week, so, then we'll talk to him
We
then.
get it.
Okay.
Alrighty,
Thank you.
thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and
Appreciate your
gentlemen.
time. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Safe out there.
Yeah.
Alright, so that brings us to the privilege of the floor. Anyone like?
I have a question for you, Lori
Okay, so-
Shea,
Yep, okay,
29 White Winds Farm Road.
thank you.
So Ellsworth Hill Road is considered a state road, correct?
Yes,
So, so I've been speaking with them about a couple of different things, and there's some things that they say, well, some of the town has, everybody kind of pushes it to another person, and I get that. So one of the things, is it also the state that puts up the posting sign?
on their road,
On
yes.
their roads,
Not
they
on
do.
the side roads, the side roads are ours, but
Yeah.
their roads are theirs, so like I've had 3 phone calls specifically about Ellsworth Road,
Yeah,
and so I got a phone call, the first week of March going, I heard you're putting all these signs up on March 11th, and I'm like, I didn't put anything out about March 11th, then it was the state they were talking about,
Yeah.
so they had to call the state, and it's the state that does that piece of
yeah,
it.
okay. Yeah, that's what I figured. I just wasn't sure. I didn't know if there was anything at all that the town could do, because they have it posted about 50 feet from my driveway, and, which is not right at the end of Ellsworth, and so because it's right before my driveway, no trucks will come in, like to
Oh.
deliver my grain.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, you're
Empty my
exempt,
trash.
you're exempt from that.
Yeah, it's agricultural. You are
Agricultural,
exempt, yeah. It's
horticultural, and agricultural are exempt from that.
Yeah,
So I
anything
can tell
that-
my
Cannot.
people that?
You
Yes.
should be fine,
Even
because
firewood, if
they
you
have
want
to
to-
be able to bring
yeah.
hay in and everything
Yeah.
else, they have to.
Why not?
That's great to
That's,
see.
if
I
you-
knew
if
I
you
wanted to
read the
come.
RSA, if you read the RSA on it.
What's that?
Aren't you glad you came to this?
I am very glad, yes, yes.
It's like
It's too bad I can't get another answer that easily about my other
Like
issue.
we can't like tell people they can't get their septic, like we had somebody who needed a septic done, they have to
Fuel
get their
trucks,
septic, yeah,
too.
fuel truck, yeah.
Yeah.
Log trucks full of firewood.
Anything like that, yeah, so agricultural, is because you can't tell people, sorry, your horses don't get hay, so.
Well, that's it, yeah, or just like any, obviously, there's lots of different services that have to come
Yeah,
to the
cause
barn.
it's partly business too, I mean, we can't do that to people.
Right, okay.
You
Yeah,
should
cause
be-
it's literally a matter of 50 feet,
Right.
and even if they put it on the other side of my driveway, you know what I mean, it's like, it wouldn't have made a difference, but
Clear up,
anyways.
do it, yeah, absolutely.
And then, maybe I should talk to you, Butch, about this, but I've been battling with the DOT, about the lack of water, their water mitigation from the top.
Somebody
And
else was complaining about that too, and it,
so what, and I've been, this is years. And what happens though is because of the road, the way it's canted, on the other side, on the uphill side, beautiful ditch, on my side, beautiful ditches coming into my farm. So what happens is all that runoff comes down, comes into my property. I have 2 ponds. It floods the ponds. Ponds flood, and it's all documented. Take out my fences.
have you contacted the Department of Transportation?
Oh, I've
Have you-
spoken to him for 4 years, and not only does it take out the fences, but then it floods my creek and it takes out my road. So then they admitted to some of it. They put in a bigger culvert at the top of the driveway, but they're saying I need to do some erosion mitigation and things like that. And I said, well, what I might just do is put a boulder because it's on my property. I know, not in the easement, but on my property. If because I can't keep building fences and roads. But what they're saying goes back to the town, and they're saying that with all of the new construction, it has changed this, and driveways coming in, and not really appropriate culverts. Like I said, I know there's always a pass the buck thing, but I'm just curious. There is a lot of new development, obviously, on Ellsworth and everything.
Right.
So, what does the town do? Like, as part of planning and zoning, like I was just at the planning and zoning meeting last night, and I was listening to some of the things, and I didn't hear anything about like how a new driveway or something like that impacts that.
That's supposed to be reviewed, like when it's, as far as I understand it, if somebody builds something on Route 175 or does anything on a state road, we can't approve that as far as I understand that. So that's still the town, that's not us.
That's true.
Well,
Um,
like, for example, the town, like, so I'm selling a piece of land and we were talking about the right of way.
Yep.
That, and then we were talking about that it's gonna be a shared driveway, et cetera. I've already met with the DOT, they approved it and everything else. But then it was changed, then the planning and zoning had us come back because they wanted the frontage different in relation to if they were gonna build for the driveway, et cetera, which I get, right? Does that make sense? So I just feel like even if right now the town, say, doesn't have anything to do with that, on Ellsworth Road, somebody, they approved plans to build a house, for example. Can we think about that? Because if you were interested, anyone that comes down and sees the devastation that the lack of mitigation, I mean, it all comes into my farm.
It's a bottom of the hill.
It's a huge hill, and it's from the top, And if you're going up Ellsworth Hill Road, you can just look to the side. You'll see there's no ditch.
Is it washing out your driveway?
Yeah.
So what you probably have to do, because I could almost guarantee the state's gonna have no recourse. So the problem is the state's using anywhere some 24-inch culverts or 30-inch culverts coming down into your 12 or 15-inch culverts, and that's not how it works.
Well,
It's supposed to work the opposite way.
Right, and that's what they're saying.
So
Get
you
a
need
bigger
to put
culvert.
Bigger culvert.
But this is all massive, like, and it every year it gets worse, and that's why I think it is, partly has to do with the new construction.
There was one issue I saw, guys, and I definitely won't pass the buck on the town because I didn't see who dug it. But when you turn on the spring spokes field, right there where Carol keeps the area all nice and manicured.
With the garden club?
Yeah. There was a runoff into the woods there, and that slows the velocity down tenfold, and disperses the water in the woods. Well, when we had that heavy rains and some snow, somebody, I don't know if it was the state or the town, I didn't see it, like I said, dug that open, not knowing there was a runoff into the woods. So now the water's coming right down to Ellsworth Hill, banging a 90-degree and running down Ellsworth Hill with some really heavy velocity that I haven't seen in 30 years that I've lived there, which is actually putting more velocity to her because that's going down about 2/3 of the way down the hill in that real steep corner before her house, and then it shoots to her.
Yeah.
So she's getting I wouldn't dare to guess how much more water, but there is a percentage of more water she's getting now because of that. But I can't say who dug it because I didn't see it.
When
And I
did that get
talked,
dug?
It was back when we had those heavy rains.
yeah,
Like months ago?
No, about 2-3 weeks ago.
2 weeks, okay.
Yeah.
and it's,
I don't think it would be my.
Carol
guess.
made a complaint. I know Carol did call up down here. So I don't know if you.
No, Carol, I got a call about, they thought it was a failed culvert, it wasn't, it was frozen culvert up
Yeah.
on that way.
That was mine by my driveway.
Right, and we did a
Yeah.
frozen culvert
Yeah.
piece and we worked up on that, but I didn't get nobody called about digging anything up
Yeah.
there. I don't know why they would.
I mean, on my way home, I could snap a couple pictures and send you if that'll help you.
No, you can.
I have no problem doing that.
I just didn't know how, because
I mean,
like
in
I
terms
said,
of how the state deals with the driveways and people put stuff in on there, and I don't know what I don't know what their process is and what they look at. I mean, I think we look at that and the road agent's supposed to look at that when we're putting in driveways, like, how's it gonna be, what do we need to do, like, thing like that, that's supposed to be part of the process, but the state wise on Ellsworth, I don't know.
right, and I do have a very good idea of how the state deals, because like I said, I've met with them for years. I've spent hours and hours and hours with all different people from their different departments, etc. And so that's one thing, but I just thought, I think possibly there's a piece of it that is town oriented, like when a driveway permit is, that's not the access onto the state road, but just the whole plan and everything. Because they were showing me, like they even said, I'll show you this new house, see how it's this way and it comes
So
Uh,
off.
you're talking about a driveway that goes on to Ellsworth
Yeah.
Hill Road? Yeah.
So
that's-
not the access, but like if you're
If they're on,
permitting.
if Ellsworth is here and there's a road here and the new house is built here, there's a driveway,
That's
and
on
that's
our,
what she's talking
it's
about.
on
Into our
the
road.
the
It drives
driveway,
into
the
Ellsworth.
And it
driveway's
comes-
on our
That's what
road.
she's talking
Right.
about.
Okay.
So that is addressed by the planning board
Mm,
when people come in to get a building permit. a site plan review, et cetera.
Right,
And Carl Kelly goes out to inspect setbacks and whether or not it needs the culvert or
Yeah.
not, and for their driveway.
And then
Okay.
he'll send
But
that
then
on to the road
the-
agent if it needs a
But
driveway.
the issue of following up on that and making sure that everything is done right, that's kind of a gray area for us, but that's why we have instituted a new position in the town.
mm-hmm,
It's gonna take us a while to fill it, but hopefully that person will be able to go out and inspect things as they're being built.
yeah,
So that we make sure that they have the right size culvert. That they, first of all, that they have one.
Have
Because in
one,
places
yeah.
where, there was no follow-up, so they didn't put a culvert in.
there's several up
Yeah,
there,
so
like in the last
I don't know
couple of
about
years.
your area, maybe, I take your word for it,
Yeah,
but, in this whole town, there's probably many more.
yeah, cause when we went up my boundary, up Ellsworth Hill along the boundary, and I'm like, here's a new house, with the whole thing canted, to Ellsworth and no culvert.
Yep.
That's all coming into my place, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess it would have been that, it would have either been
Yeah.
the follow-up or something, but it's like I can't keep up.
But that would have
Yeah.
been stayed on that one, I think the one
But
the one you're talking
Right,
Under-
but
yeah.
it's also not just, I'm not talking about just as it comes to Ellsworth, I'm talking about like the whole site plan that say planning and zoning or whoever would do that approval. Like, I just wonder if there's, in those situations, like, is there a piece of it that says we have to look at the the grading or anything, even by the house? Because say here's Ellsworth Hill in the driveway, but if it's all set up that it's here and it all runs down here, it's still coming to my place.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm really
So-
explaining it right, but
A lot of that is supposed to be taken care of when you hire an architect,
Right.
surveyor, they develop your site plan.
Yep.
They go out and they walk that property,
right,
and they know what grades are there. And they're trained to understand how that all works, and how to try to put that house in the right spot, the driveway in the right spot, so that you work with the slope of the property to make sure water goes into the ditches or into
Right.
the woods or whatever it is.
And-
right, and I'm
and-
fully aware, I really do understand that. What I'm saying is, say that architect or that surveyor says, this would work, but they're not gonna say, and it would be, X amount of money, but you're gonna be dumping a ton of water down to your neighbors. Do you see, like,
Yeah.
and I know that might be pushing it, but it's so extreme. Anybody is very welcome to ever, just to pull into my driveway. All you have to do is, as soon as you get in, you'll see, it's already starting to wash out. Up top, even where the state put the new culvert in. And as you go down, it's worse. But anyways, like I said, I appreciate you just hearing me, because I just kind of wanted to put it out there that maybe some piece of this, as we get so many more new homes being built, I just kind of feel like it's maybe not as important to some people because they're not affected. But as we build more, and obviously we do have areas that are being now built in these developments that are on a hillside, anyone below them without these checks and balances are getting brutalized.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So anyways, just a thought, like I said, I'll continue my debate with the state,
It
but,
sounds to me like the state should come back and give you a deeper ditch,
Yeah.
put some riprap in there to stabilize the walls, and put a bigger culvert for your driveway.
and they won't. I mean, like I said, I've been fighting, and we've walked it, and then they're,
So then the other thing might be to think about, instead of dealing with all this other stuff that you gotta fix, put a bigger ditch in yourself. I mean, I think you would have to get the state's approval to do that, but if you were willing to do that and put in a bigger culvert, clear that with the state, clear that with the town,
but the,
probably,
right, and I've thought about that, but because of the easement, how the state has
Yeah.
the easement, was
Yeah,
it
that's
20 or
why I said
25
work
feet?
with- First start with them to get their permission.
Yeah, and they won't give
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
because
We do that
if
when we
I
fix
dig
it.
it, they're maintaining it, and so
Yeah.
then they're gonna say, well, so you
Right.
can't do it, cause if you
Right.
don't do it to
Yeah.
our,
Specifications,
right, so they just don't,
right.
and if
And
you
they're
look,
also gonna look at the base of what you're talking about is what gets transferred down to you, then that gets transferred down. as well.
and now at the bottom of Ellsworth,
Right.
that creek will flood.
Right.
Is that
It's-
culvert at the beginning of your driveway or further up in your driveway?
They put it right at the edge of the easement, so was it 20 or 25 feet, I forget, from the into the
It-
driveway with the easement.
That
Whatever it is,
right
it's
away on
right.
Ellsworth is most likely probably a 60-foot right of way.
Oh no, it's not. It's it's either I think it's 25 feet. But sometime if you ever come by, because they put that up. But what they did though is they made a 90, so that when they put that in and they dug it out, they created a 90 up here. So tons of the water comes down, hits the 90, floods across the road, blows out my road, then comes into their new culvert.
Now, if
So-
you only got a 15-inch culvert at your driveway, and they knowingly got 2 foot or 30-inch or 36 up above, you do stand a chance.
Yeah, they did put a bigger
You
one
know,
in, but
yeah.
I can't. There's no way I can ever afford to do what they suggest because I would be, Anyway, all right.
Okay,
Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
for the, thank you.
All right. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you, I did a good job.
Anyone else?
Well, I guess I could bring up another question. I don't know if this is the right forum for it, or you'd rather me discuss it at a board meeting, but it just, it came to my,
Roads?
what's that?
Does it have to do with roads?
Well, it could do with the highway department.
Does it have to do with roads?
A truck on the road.
I guess that's kind of a gray area, I guess. Yeah, it has to do with a person that, it's not a personnel matter, let's put it that way. Okay, I'll beat to the punch. Why is the new road agent being issued a truck to drive all the way to Benton, New Hampshire?
He isn't being issued a truck.
Okay, all right.
The person is allowed to, when we're going to have storms, they're going to come back down, and that was being given by the board chair, allowed that, but not every day. It's
Okay.
not something that
It's just
they're
an
not.
impending storms.
It's an impending storm,
Oh,
so that
okay.
they can come back down and be there with the same staff.
This still seems pretty excessive for 80-mile round trip.
It's not your call, unfortunately.
You're right, it's not, but it is my money that's filling that tank.
It's true.
Yeah.
I think
Duly
the person,
noted, thank you.
That's unacceptable. I mean, it's just my opinion, and I get it, and you guys have a right to. I get that, but that's unheard of. I don't know of any town that authorizes that. I mean, I get it. Like Chief Foss lives about 9 miles here over in Ashland. I get that. He
that's
needs
not
it.
Chief Foss lives in Holderness.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's
No, he
Ashland.
lives in.
No.
But it's right there.
I
You
know
know more.
exactly where
You
he
could
is.
see where I could make that mistake. It's about 9 miles, and I'm in favor of him driving it there. But Craig, that's wrong. I don't care. It is what it is. You
Duly noted, thank you.
yeah, and hopefully that helps you get out next time when you're up for election. Have a great day, guys.